Landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Curiosity Forge. I am the Curiosity in the Forge, and today's going to be a little different. I have hit the part of the process with the Tomahawk where I am at need a tool, make a tool. I've been giving some thought over the last few days while I've been tied up with other life stuff about my order of operations for getting this thing done how I want and with the supplies I have on hand. One of the things that I want to have for this and for the following project, once the Tomahawk is either finished or failed, depending, is the striking anvil. And I have a striking anvil kit from Uncle Buck's Forge. And again, for those of y'all that don't know, Uncle Buck's Forge, that's Steve Cox. He sells a lot of stuff for blacksmiths, and the pricing on them is ridiculously reasonable. Coming from someone who's gone shopping for stuff and found almost everything available severely overpriced, yeah, Uncle Buck's Forge is truly a welcome sight. And the striking anvil kit that I've got is two big old chunguses of steel that you weld together, and some legs and some pads for the bottom of the legs. And I got that September 2018 at Quad State. And I've been kind of on the hunt since then for someone that had a welder strong enough to put it together. One thing that has become abundantly clear over the course of other projects is the little flux core welder that I bought is not good for that kind of project. Not without a lot of prep work, a lot of know-how, and probably more electricity coming through the wall than I can manage. But courtesy of the specimen of manhood, the veritable Cadillac of men, that is Rob over at Granddad's Forge, I have a small 110 stick welder. And at least my initial impression of that on the last video was positive. The bead penetrated deep enough into a hammer billet to actually hold it to rebar, which I messed that weld up really badly. So only one little area actually got welded up right, and that's where I started, because I started doing what I was supposed to and then went haywire as soon as I realized I had to go around corners, and I was severely out of practice. I'm pretty sure after talking to a couple people that little stick welder should be able to get the striking anvil. Those are the words I was looking for, both striking and anvil in that order. Should be able to get that thing put together soundly enough to work for everything I need it to do and then some. I've seen them put together with smaller, crappier welds than what I know the stick welder can do. And give me a second, I will pause this and bring something back to show you what I'm going to do with it. Okay, so about 10 years ago, I took the first quarter of weld class, and that entire class was nothing but, that entire quarter was nothing but stick welding, nothing but doing 9-pass beads. And you can see in here where we had these beads just kind of laid up, and it makes a nice thick 45, and you have bead penetration and sticktivity all the way across this plane and this plane. Give you a better view. So what I'm planning on doing with the 2 plates of steel for the striking anvil is the same thing. This is one of my samples from weld class that I snuck out of there and took home with me. And that's what my beads used to look like. And of course that was on a much bigger welder, but same principle should apply. One thing that I have learned is I have lost all the muscle memory that I had. All of it. I can still kinda, like, my hands still kinda remember what they're supposed to do, but it just ain't there. So what today is going to be is practice. Today is going to be practice with the stick welder and getting the beads right, and practice at doing a 9-pass and a 40 or a 9-pass in a 90-degree angle again to get used to replicating that style of bead. And to that end, I have picked out a couple of chunks of just random steel from the shop that will do what I need them to. I am gonna go out to the shop, clean the plate off, get a good surface ready to go, and then get ready to start doing my practice that I was doing back when I was in weld class, so that I can get my beads looking right again, be confident with the bead penetration, and be ready to put the striking anvil together so that I can use it with the guillotine tool to isolate faces on the tomahawk. And I'm going to want all that stuff for the next project too. Once I get done with that, and also with the practice from the welding, I'm going to put together a much smaller hammer eye punch than I have so that I can punch the eye out on the tomahawk with the dimensions that I have available once I am done drawing that billet down. And that's going to be the same style that we used at Quad State for the hammer making class. Real simple, real straightforward, and basically making just barely enough room to fit the drift in and going from there. There was one other tool I needed, and I'm drawing a blank on what that was that I've got to put together. Let's see, striking anvil, hammer eye punch. I'll remember what the other one was later. It's early in the morning and I'm not fully awake yet, but this will get the job did. So I will come back to you once I have the steel plate cleaned up, mounted in something, and ready to have electrodes applied to it. Sit tight. Okay, folks, so I've got this here cleaned up. It's one of the railroad tie plates. Just took a wire brush to it, got the rust and a lot of the initial crap off. Again, I am very grateful to have a powered respirator because that's a whole bunch of crap I didn't have to breathe. My next stop is going to be just starting to pad beads on this, and I will catch some footage of that. A little bit of a heads up, you're going to hear some angle grinder, much as I don't want to put that in the video, but I use a hard wire wheel on an angle grinder to clean the slag off the beads, because that gets everything knocked off and gets it really clean. And it's about 1,000,000 times faster than trying to chip at it with a hammer and a handheld wire brush. And believe it or not, this is the same Harbor Freight grinder that I started using in weld class back in 2009. And it belonged to my uncle for God knows how many years before he passed away, because this is an old Chicago Electric. I don't think there's any way to tell exactly what year it was made, but it served me well. It will continue to serve me well, and as soon as I get everything plugged up, get my welding hood on, and get ready to put fire to this thing, I'll come back. Oh yeah, I did remember what project the third was. I've got a large sledgehammer head that Mr. James Duncan, old Sprinkles himself, gave me, and I've got to get that cleaned up. I've got to grind off the mushrooming on it and get a handle on it, because I want to use that to help speed up both drawing the billet out and isolating faces. So that's going to be part of the list of things to do, and I also want to finish off my hammer from Quad State, because it's been sitting here for months and it ain't been touched. But back in a minute. All right, let's see what happens. Hi. All right. Fire in an orifice. All right, let's fire up the grinder and see what I made. Shaky cam. Okay, I will flip the camera around and walk you through what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm not too unhappy with that so far. It looks like we got decent bead penetration. We got decent thickness. You can tell right in here where I moved a little fast because the bead got thinner. But everything's looking fairly nicely stacked. I think with about 10 or 15 of these beads, I should be in good shape in that department, and then maybe ready to move on to a 90-degree angle. But that's bead the first, and that's the first time I've tried to lay one of these down in I don't know how long. Let's put a few more beads down before I wrap this part up. And then I'll come back afterwards when it's time to do the 90-degree and see how I can set that up. Let's see what I made. All right, next bead. Okay, let me flip this around and we'll take a look at the next couple of beads I did. Okay, so you can see on the 2 beads in a row that I did afterwards, there's a problem right in here where I'm getting out of a comfortable position, which means I'm no longer holding the stinger right. which is pulling the rod out of contact and skipping over these areas. So one of the things I know I need to work on now is a more comfortable position, so I'm going to try to achieve that, and we'll move on from here. And on that note, I'm just going to lay down a whole bunch of beads in a row, get them ground off, and look at them and see if I'm improving once I fix positioning. We'll come back and take a look at that. So it'll be a while for me, but it'll be like, I don't know, a half a second for y'all. See you in a bit. Alright, so this is more along the lines with the bead that I wanted to make. This is kind of what I'm looking for with consistency and repeatability. And a lot of that is a change in position and getting myself somewhere where I don't have to change position mid-bead to get what I need to do done. That's part of what's happened in here and in here is I had to change position midway through the bead, and it didn't work out. Now, 10 years ago, when I was in the thick of it and doing this 4 hours a day, yeah, I could change position mid-bead no problem and see a very minor hiccup. But those days are gone, so I just got to keep working on this and get my touch back, but at least it's coming back faster than I thought it would. I think if I get a few more good ones like this, I'm going to try for the 90 degree and see about doing the 9 pass. Alright folks, I've been at it for a little bit. I got a few more beads patted down. We'll flip the camera around, take a look at where I've gotten with this. And then I think the next step's going to be just trying a 9-pass weld on 2 pieces of steel to see how that turns out. I think I've got everything good enough right now that I can do what I need to. And of course, with some more practice, it'll only get better. But let's flip the camera around. Okay. These 2 beads came out good, and then things got squirrely right here. I was still sitting down and not in the most comfortable position in the world, so I had some skips and stuff. Moved on to here, and things smoothed out again, and then I stood up and pulled my elbows in so I wouldn't have to change positions, and things got a lot better. There's a little porosity right here, a few little tiny voids that just aren't a big deal for what I'm going to be doing with this. So that's a lot of good, solid, viable beads, and I'm pretty sure with the way this is going to work out and how much penetration I got into this big old room temperature chunk of steel, because I think it was like 40 degrees in the garage or something like that. It was nice and cold when I started. This should hold the striking anvil together, provided I make the beads good and solid. So the striking anvil is going to depend 100% entirely on operator skill. But I'm going to stop this here and get everything ready for the 90 degree 9 pass. And let's see how I do with that, and then we'll wrap the video up because it's probably longer than I think it is right now. Okay, so here we have the test piece set up and everything is ready to go. So I'm going to try a root pass on this and see how it feels. Fire in the orifice. Come on. Ah, come on. Okay, so I'm going to clean that bead up and come back to you so you don't have to listen to the angle grinder. Okay, so as you can see, it kind of went good. Like here, here, and here are all good. That's not a huge deal for what I need to do. It's not going to affect the striking anvil that much, but this right here is where I had to change electrodes. And we had a position change right here, which started this process. Electrode ran out, new electrode, and things picked up again. So I'm thinking on the next pass, if I fill in right here and push a little bit harder right through here, I should be able to get this welded at least well enough. There's still going to be some inclusions, but they're going to be small. I'm not too worried about it. But let's see if I can't clean this up on the pass here and the pass up here. And I may do another pass right here. So 3 passes and then 5 more passes on top of that will give me a 9 pass. And yeah, I need a little more practice at this, but I'm doing better than I thought I would, all things considered. So I'll be back after the next couple passes are done. Alright folks, there we're at for right now. We got some seriously porous areas through here, which I think were caused by me being in the wrong position, which let the electrode get too far away. And I can keep patting beads to fill them in, but I'm not going to right now. I'm real happy with how this part of the outer layer looks. That's a lot of progress in a short amount of time. This needs more work, and I'm starting to feel a good bit of fatigue, and I'm starting to lose focus, so I'm going to back away from this and come back later. But just wanted to give you an idea of what I'm doing to get myself ready for welding together that striking anvil. And we'll go to the war room. I'll wrap this up, and that'll be that. Alright folks, there you have it. This has been a very, very, very enjoyable session for me personally. When I was in weld class, I thoroughly enjoyed what I was doing, and I honestly didn't expect to be back doing that again right now, but here we are. As you can tell from that last shot, that 9 pass don't quite look like this 9 pass. There are parts of it that are close, but not quite there. Which, again, porosity up through here, little bits of porosity, kind of peppered throughout. And a big part of at least what I think happened there is I got used to full-size, like full-length stick welding rods, the big boys, running at like 110 amps, which gave me plenty of room to position myself and work. These 16th inch welding rods, I get down to about half the rod and my hand is hitting the piece I'm working on and I can't quite get in where I need to, and the electrodes, because they go up so fast, wind up a long way away from the puddle, which means I have to learn how to work with that or get used to just working with half an electrode at a time, which I don't want to do because that's wasteful. But yeah, like I said earlier, that was a lot of progress in a very short amount of time. Rob Garman, thank you again. Without you, this would not be happening right now. And yeah, so that's everything I have for right now. And just remember, when you have stuff like this come up, take some joy in learning a new skill, or like I'm doing right now, relearning an old skill. And yeah, after that session, I am confident that that welder will stick that striking anvil together well enough for it to not fall apart. It's not going to be the deepest penetration on a bead ever, but it's going to be sufficient penetration stretched out all the way around the edge of those pieces of steel, and that should keep it tacked together. And even if I don't get a perfect 9 pass all the way around, it'll still do good enough. And getting those legs welded on shouldn't be a problem either. That piece of steel I had up at the 90 was close to the same thickness as the legs towards the bottom. So I got to take a look at how that was going to do on the bead penetration and everything else. So yeah, I learned a hell of a lot from this, and probably after I rest for a little bit and get my head cleared out, I'll go back down and do some more practice on it and just see where it takes me. But I wanted to share that with you. So with that, stay safe in your shops. Remember, you are the softest thing in there. You need to act like it. I will see you next time.